Do you think pretty privilege exists in the world?
I think it does.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4, where we're going to give our opinions on controversial style and fashion questions that exist in the world today. Okay, so first question is, so quiet luxury, dressing like old money, just like understated style with no logos, things like that. That's been pretty prevailing as a trend for the past 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this trend? Because I have a firm opinion.
Okay. So I personally don't mind the quiet luxury trend.
Okay.
When I think about quiet luxury, I think about like no loud logos, like not flaunting that you have a designer bag or designer item. So it's very understated, but it does showcase like a sense of taste and a sense of quality that comes with luxury items. And so, yeah, for me personally, I were to go into luxury or like luxury fashion, I would choose to do more understated, like quiet luxury versus not.
I think this whole trend is kind of stupid as a fashion trend because I think fashion is about self-expression. And if you're just trying to do that to fit into a mold, or if you're trying to follow quiet luxury or like old money to fit into a mold of like what you think others will perceive about you, I think it's a stupid trend to follow. I think the trend is like trying to emulate or dress a certain way to look like you have generational wealth or that you are closer to that class.
Yeah. Okay. And say like minus old money, like taking that out of the equation, is there an issue with having more understated branding?
I don't think there's an issue with having it if that's your personal style and that's what you like. I think the issue comes where you are just going with the wind and you think this will make you be perceived a certain way.
Okay.
And I think fashion is like, style is about staying true to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like to really hone in on your point of view here, it's more the idea that you're trying to follow like a trend that's in the market today. Not really, it's not like an authentic style choice that you have.
Yes.
Versus like the concept of just understated branding.
Yeah. Okay. I think if understated branding, like in and of itself, if you like that, you should go for it. And I think that's totally great.
Our second question is, do you think fashion should ever be political? So for example, if should brands ever be canceled for advertising that a public figure has worn their brand before?
My opinion on this is that fashion is political. And that I think brands should run their advertising and their marketing however they want to, but you should be aware of who your demographic is and be okay with the consequences of alienating part of your demographic based off of that. And here's why I think it's always political, or almost always political. Maybe not for the everyday person, but like, for example, when, let's say, the royal family, like Kate and William Middleton, visit whatever country they're going to visit, Kate will always choose to wear a local designer. Almost always.
Yeah, it's kind of like the concept of like why brands want to partner with certain people, like certain influencers.
Yeah.
And maybe they're looking for the demographic that those influencers are also attracted or like bringing in to grow their business. So it's almost like it's kind of the responsibility of the company to know the reputation of the people that they're working with.
Yeah.
And the repercussions of that reputation on their brand.
That's what I think. That's why I think it can be political, and it is, you need to do your diligence as the company on like what you run and don't run, and if you're okay with the consequences or not.
Yeah. I think it's tough in the environment that we are in now because Like sometimes it doesn't even have to be political. It could be just the
Yes.
reputation of someone,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
and regardless of their political leanings.
Yeah. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get canceled and you didn't even know what was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's tough being in marketing at
For
like
sure.
a corporation.
Yeah.
Whoever is advertising your brand, they should reflect your values too.
Yeah.
And you never know, like
You
things
never
like
know.
that could change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my ultimate answer on this question is that it is political, unfortunately.
I think my viewpoint on this is yes, fashion can be political, but not in the sense of what you're saying about it being due to a brand like outwardly advertising that a public figure is wearing their brand. I think it can be also indirect. So for example, like there are instances where a public figure who may be very unpopular amongst the general public, they might say themselves that they're wearing like a specific brand, and the brand will therefore get a lot of backlash for the fact that that public figure is wearing their brand. But it's not necessarily the case that that brand outwardly advertised that they are working in partnership with that public figure. And so I think that is a scenario, regardless of the advertising, that it could be political.
I think in that scenario, I would, even if it is, unfortunately, there is backlash, I would feel that it's unfortunate and unfair for it to get blamed on the brand because they don't always have control over that.
Yeah.
It's only when they have control over it that I think they have to be aware that it can be political. How do you feel about the fact that there is like a quote unquote beauty premium that exists in this world? So for example, there are studies that show that women who wear makeup or dress better or are more attractive are paid more or get promoted faster. And I think, do you think pretty privilege exists in the world?
I think it does. And I think it's unfortunate that that is the case. But I do think we live in a world where appearances are important. Pretty privilege doesn't necessarily mean that you're naturally super pretty. It can also mean like
You're just put together.
you're put together. Yeah.
There's a separate dimension of pretty privilege from people who are super pretty. I'm sure, like I've heard, like in New York, there are apps just for models where they get free things. So that also exists.
Why someone being pretty or put together or wearing makeup is viewed as more trustworthy, I think the reason is it sends a message of discipline and detail orientation to someone, at least as first impression, versus someone who is not, who isn't like put together, or who like kind of looks all shabby, like they just got out of bed. And I think this is only from a first impression standpoint, which unfortunately plays a big impact on how people perceive you. But I do think these initial perceptions can be negated once someone actually sees who you are as a person.
I think I agree with the first part of what you said, but my opinion is that yes, it matters, and it's very hard to get past the first impression. I think it's I feel like this standard also applies to men for what it's worth. Maybe not the makeup part, but like the beauty privilege, or like for men, I think height has been shown as like correlated with your success in the workplace. And I think it is unfortunate that this standard exists, especially when certain things you don't have control over. But I think like ultimately the world that we live in, you just have to put in the effort in the things that you can control, which is like just like being tidy and like dressing well. And I think it's hard to get past the first impression, actually.
Okay.
Is my opinion.
So how about this? Say you had an amazing first impression, like someone's super put together, but then the moment you talk to them, like they're super disorganized, when you work with them, like they have really bad output on their work. Do you still think that your impression is the same?
No, I think it's very easy to go the other way. Like, you can have a good first impression and then be bad afterwards. It's hard to have a bad first impression and be good afterwards.
Your initial positive impression based off their appearance can be negated if their behavior is the opposite of what you think.
Agree.
Yeah.
But an initial bad impression is hard to push uphill.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
But I do think it exists. Like,
Yeah.
I do think it's possible to, especially for men. I think it's especially true for men that they don't need to be like super put together, but they're outstanding in everything they do. Like from a corporate standpoint. I'm talking from a corporate standpoint.
Okay.
I think it's possible especially for men.
So you think that there's a double standard in the expectation for women to look extremely put together?
Yeah. But I also think in a corporate setting, it depends on what industry you're in.
Okay.
Like, I think, say you are in an industry where appearance really matters, like financial services or client services.
Okay.
I think it's especially important for both sides. But say you're in technology where appearance doesn't matter as much, then I don't think, I think it just depends on like your industry. But I think as society as a whole, there is such thing as pretty privilege, both on the men and women's side.
What about outside of the corporate world? Do you think like women need to look more put together than men? Like, will you be treated worse if you're not?
I do think it exists outside of corporate as well. Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I think humanity likes pretty things. Like I think everyone is drawn to something that's attractive, right? And that you can see in like day-to-day things, like when you go to meet someone for the first time, like their first impression is based off of appearance, right? Before you even start talking to them. Like, that's like the first thing that they see. And so I do think, unfortunately, people make quick judgments based off what you look like. And that's why, as a whole, I do think it exists outside of corporate.
My personal opinion is that this is like just from my personal life. I get treated a lot better when I am put together than if I look I genuinely, I think people treat me better when I look put together. Just random people on the street or when I'm outside like interacting with people, than when I look like I just woke up and just stepped out of bed.
Yeah.
And I think that like kind of observation is what makes me feel like, yes, like pretty privilege. Or not even pretty privilege, but like looking put together is very valuable in this world.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like the message that it gives off to people, which is like the detail orientation, discipline, etc. Do you think that influencers have responsibility to disclose the plastic surgery that they've gotten? And why do you think that they get hate when they do disclose it or not?
I think it's a lose-lose situation for influencers, unfortunately. I don't think they need to disclose it to the general public. But I do think it's wrong if they lie and say that they haven't gotten anything done, if they have. I think it's unfortunately lose-lose. You're going to get hate no matter what. But if you have a really big platform, it means that you influence like a lot of people's perceptions about beauty and like trends and style. And I think like, I personally think it's wrong if they were to lie about it. Yeah.
People would also really appreciate if you were authentic and honest about it. Even though, yes, it is lose-lose, like you will also get hate by being open about it.
Okay.
But I think it's better to own up to it versus create a false perception of beauty.
Okay.
Yeah.
My opinion on that is that you don't, even if you are a public figure, that's not something that you owe to the public to disclose. So I think that if you didn't want to, you totally don't have to.
Thanks to everybody for listening to this episode about style and fashion. Let us know if you have any hot takes or comments or questions, and we'll get back to you on them.